The wrong body, the wrong wound, the right moment. Somewhere in prehistoric Europe, a person ate something they should not have. We do not know their name. We do not know what tribe they belonged to, what language they spoke, or what they were trying to do when it happened. All we know is what their body did next. It swelled, it burned, it fought back, and someone nearby watched and remembered. That moment, unremarkable, painful, probably terrifying, was the first chapter of a story that ends in every hospital on Earth today. Modern medicine did not begin with laboratories or microscopes or clinical trials. It began with mistakes, specific, repeated, carefully observed mistakes that someone was curious enough to take seriously. This is that story. For most of human history, medicine was not a profession. It was a practice. Something passed between people in the same way fire-making was passed, through demonstration, through failure, through the slow accumulation of what worked and what killed you. And the laboratory was not a room with controlled conditions. It was the human body itself, living, responding, healing, dying, telling anyone willing to pay attention exactly what it needed. Prehistoric humans were paying attention. Archaeologists have found evidence of surgical procedures dating back over 10,000 years. Trepanation, the deliberate drilling of holes into the human skull, was performed on multiple continents by cultures that had no contact with each other, using tools made from stone. And here is the part that stops people cold. Many of those patients survived. The bone shows regrowth, healing, recovery. These were not acts of desperation or ritual alone. They were interventions, calculated ones, performed by people who had seen it work before. Someone made the first incision into a living skull at some point in the deep past. That was the mistake. That was also, somehow, the beginning, what the accident actually was. But let us talk about the specific kind of mistake that built medicine. It was not a single event. It was a category of event, one that happened thousands of times, in thousands of places, over hundreds of thousands of years. Someone ate a plant and got sick. Someone else ate the same plant in a smaller amount, and their fever broke. Someone put a wet leaf on a wound as improvised bandaging. The wound did not get infected. Someone drank water from a spring near a particular mineral deposit. Their joints stopped aching. None of these people understood why. They had no germ theory, no cellular biology, no concept of an immune system or an inflammatory response. They only had the before and the after, the symptom and the change. But they noticed, and they told someone, and that person told someone else. This is what medical historians call empirical medicine. Not medicine derived from theory, but medicine derived from observation, from accident, pattern recognition, and transmission. It is, in a very real sense, the same method that drives medicine today. We just gave it a different name. We call it a clinical trial. The pharmacy that was already there. Consider what prehistoric humans stumbled into without knowing it. Willow bark, chewed for pain relief by cultures across Europe, Africa, and the Americas, independently, for at least 6,000 years. The active compound is salicin. Strip away the bark, isolate the molecule, modify it slightly for a gentler stomach response, and you have aspirin, one of the most widely used drugs in human history, discovered in its raw form by someone with a headache and a tree. Moldy bread, applied to infected wounds in ancient Egypt, ancient Serbia, ancient Greece. The cultures had no relationship with each other. They all arrived at the same conclusion. Something in the mold stopped the rot. That something was penicillin. Alexander Fleming did not invent it in 1928. He rediscovered it. He gave it a name, isolated it, and made it reproducible. But the knowledge that mold could fight infection is prehistoric. Opium poppies, coca leaves, foxglove. which contains digitalis and is still used in cardiac medicine today. Artemisia, the plant behind the most effective malaria treatment currently in use, which won its discoverer a Nobel Prize in 2015. Every single one of them was found the same way. Someone at some point in the deep past made a mistake with a plant, and someone else survived because of it. How knowledge survived without writing. Here is the part of this story that is hardest to sit with. For every piece of prehistoric medical knowledge that survived long enough for us to find it, there are thousands that did not. Before writing, knowledge lived in people, in the memory of the healer, in the songs that encoded plant names and their uses, in the rituals that preserved dosage and application in the only format available, repetition. When a healer died without passing on what they knew, the knowledge died with them. When a tribe was wiped out by disease or conflict, everything they had learned over generations about the plants in their territory vanished in a single generation. Ethnobotanists, scientists who study the relationship between plants and human cultures, estimate that we have lost the majority of the pharmacological knowledge that existed before writing. The majority. More than half of what prehistoric humans understood about the healing properties of the natural world is simply gone. And here is what makes that genuinely frightening. We do not know what we lost. We cannot grieve what we cannot name. We are walking through a library that burned down, reading the ashes, occasionally finding a page, the line that never broke, and yet. The line did not break entirely. Some of it survived in oral traditions, passed from healer to healer across thousands of years before anyone wrote it down. Some of it was encoded in religious practice, the herbs burned as offerings, the plants placed on altars, which were also, not coincidentally, the plants with the strongest antimicrobial or analgesic properties. Some of it survived because the body itself kept providing the same evidence. People kept getting sick. People kept experimenting. The mistakes kept happening, and enough of them kept being noticed. And enough of the noticers kept living long enough to tell someone else. When Hippocrates wrote his medical texts in ancient Greece around 400 BCE, he was not inventing medicine. He was organizing it, collecting and systematizing a body of knowledge that had been accumulating for hundreds of thousands of years before he was born. When Islamic scholars preserved and expanded Greek medical knowledge through the medieval period, they were maintaining a chain of transmission that stretches back, unbroken, to a prehistoric human who noticed that a plant changed something in a body, and when Fleming looked at a contaminated Petri dish in a London laboratory in 1928, he was the latest link in that same chain. The mistake was always the same. Someone was careless with something living, and something that should not have happened, happened, and someone was paying attention. What medicine actually is. We talk about medicine as if it is a modern invention, as if it appeared fully formed out of the Enlightenment, or the germ theory of the 19th century, or the pharmaceutical industry of the 20th. But medicine is the oldest continuous human project, older than agriculture, older than cities, older than language as we currently understand it. It began the first time a living creature tried to make another living creature stop hurting, and it has not stopped since. Every drug and every pharmacy on Earth today has a prehistory, a long, mostly unrecorded chain of accidents and observations and transmissions that eventually, through some combination of luck, curiosity, and stubbornness, made it into a bottle with a label on it. The molecule did not change. The pain it relieves did not change. What changed is that we finally wrote it down. Somewhere in the deep past, a person made a mistake with a plant. They got sick, or they got better, or someone near them did, and another person watched. That person watching, that first, nameless, careful observer, is the ancestor of every doctor, every nurse, every researcher, every pharmacist who has ever lived. We just never knew to say thank you. Thank you for watching. If this made you see something ordinary differently, share it with someone. See you next video.